Let's have a heart-to-heart conversation. In the coming of times and in the moments that have passed, we can recognize something special happening within our frequency, and that something special is existence itself. Now, at a risk for sounding too deep, philosophically deep, I'm just going to explain it on simple terms and within a simple level. Existence itself fractaled off from an overall source consciousness that had decided once upon a time of no time within a frequency field, a forever arching energetic frequency of endlessness, that it needed to, that it wanted to, that it yearned to explore aspects of itself that it had no longer seeked to pertain, to realize within the unity of what it had always been. And the loneliness of it all within this unity of this overall consciousness drove it to expand out into the quantum verse, into a reality field, to create multiple pockets of reality fields within its own consciousness, within consciousness itself. And existence itself makes up of you, makes up of I, makes up of all of the fractaled pieces and bits and portions within this wholeness of a consciousness itself that I speak of. And the beings and being within reality itself is a complex distortion of fields, of a hodgepodge of fields that existence itself had once upon a time decided to fractal off to experience within the self. And within the 50% darkness and 50% brightness blueprint within our own little quantum verse of existence that we've created for ourselves, to go into the exploration of this darkness, of this brightness, you will find yourself sitting here. You will find myself sitting here, and you will find all of existence within this pocket that you're in. Yet your perception field within this existence is unique within your own distortion field, within the soul blueprint that you encompass within this field. And that is because you were created soul blueprints wise to experience reality from your very own perspective. And as you grow, as you shift, as you learn through these perspectives and lessons of becoming, of encompassing that in which you are, you perceive yourself to be within this reality field that you were born into. You've shifted into this personality of who and what you are sitting here in this very moment today as no other than yourself. And as your perception field is wide, is broad, and is never endingly tranquil in the way that you perceive your reality field to be, as you stand firm in your perception of your reality field, as your perception can only be your very own perception, so does your neighbor's perception and the one next to you and my perception field as well. As we all sit from our very own little pocket, looking out at the reality of things into the center point of neutrality from different perspectives. And we can flip that concept upside down and say that reality field in itself, within consciousness itself, had fractaled out all of these beings and pockets within the self to then look in a multitude of different directions into these multitudes of endless fractals, to look into the direction that each fractal has chosen to look outwards through the lens of. And sitting within the neutrality perspective of this original source consciousness that had fractaled out all of reality fields, it can only perceive itself to be that in which it has always been, which is within layers and layers of pockets of reality fields of creation. And as you sit here, and as I sit here, and as our neighbors sit, and as every single fractal soul sits and experiences reality with each other, looking through their very own lens of distortion fields, at the center point of this God's perspective, looking out through the multitude of endless perspectives that of this reality as a general, on a wholesome level, on the entirety of a level of a whole, projected out and projects inwards the essence of the neutrality of the oneness that it has always been. You sit in a placement within this field of distortions of separation, yet you've been a part of this wholeness to begin with. And the depth of that, ladies and gentlemen, can we just sit in the depth of it all? As concepts that I speak of, you may not have ever heard of within your existence within this three-dimensional frequency, yet the reality of it all might bring back memories that will pummel through your being as I speak my words of activation into your soul, as the reality of it all comes from where you came from, as you came from the central point neutrality, and you decided to fractal outwards into this straight linear perspective that you sit in and that you encompass and that you've realized yourself to be a part of. And it's just that as you awaken to your surroundings, as we're set to ascend into a 5-dimensional frequency of a place closer to consciousness, a place closer to this neutrality perspective that we've all come from, we will begin to trigger in our memories. And as you hear truths like never before, you'll be able to feel it in your gut. You'll be able to feel it in your chest. You'll be able to come to a realization and a memory of all of this opening up within your field of distortions, within your field of distortions shed, as we shift ourselves closer and closer to 2027, to the ascension that is incoming for a whole entire unsuspecting humanity to come into the realization of the place where they come from, the place that has never left them, the place that they left once upon a time of no times in a field of a neutrality perspective, in agreeance with the self, that as they fractal out to go through these reincarnation cycles, that one day they would ascend and make their way back to the source consciousness, this consciousness as an entirety of a whole that has never left them to begin with, in energetic frequency, but only in perception field. And as I speak my words, and if you've sat through my video until this point in perspective, until this point in time, and apologies for the blurriness of this video because I'm sitting in my bedroom, it's kind of dark right now, but the essence of it all, of creation itself, has been a long and arduous journey for all of this that you see around us to unfold, to refold in onto itself, to expand and shift, then to retract back into the consciousness of the entirety of the unity of all that you've ever known, all that you've ever seen, all that you can never perceive. And the endlessness of it all can never be described within one video, one sentence, within a 10-minute video, or within any conversation at that, within any 1 hour, 2 hour, endless hours of video content. But we're set as a humanity to trigger in these memories of self, to trigger in these memories of creation, to awaken into this neutrality perspective prior to 2027 and into 2027, which is the exciting aspect. And as you feel leading up to this time that the darkness will begin to rise within the brightness of the self, to come to a realization that you were that brightness all along, just hold on to the hope and the faith that creation in itself is amazing. Creation in itself was never created to last forever within this dimensional frequency that is soon to be collapsed into a new beginning of sorts, into a higher frequency, dimensional frequency of an evolution of the consciousness that we are set to awaken to. It will be a wonderful journey. It has been a wonderful journey. And as we close off on the 2-dimensional and 3-dimensional journey that we've been shifting through for far too long, we will come into a realization and a remembrance of creation and what that was all about, of what you've been all about this whole entire time, of what the meaning of this life is. And that's the exciting part that I can ever tell you within this lifetime, that you will come into a remembrance of it all as you merge back into the central neutrality of it all, sitting in this physicality of a body of yours on earth.